Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I am your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of these end times. On this program, I want to ask the question, were those Paris terrorist attacks simple acts of revenge on the part of Muslims against a satirical French magazine called Charlie Hebdo, or were they something far more sinister? Were they in fact false flag events coordinated by the elite rulers of the world, the Illuminati, the one world government people? And I think that number 815 is one of the most important clues that this was an inside false flag type event. And we've been seeing 815 on many occasions. For example, when the grand jury announcement was made in Ferguson, which caused those race riots. That was given at 8:15. And we've seen also those two very important commercials. We have seen that number 815 in the iPad commercial, which is called Your Verse, and in that Cartier watch commercial called Shape Your Time. Notice in both of those commercials, the word your is prominent. That's because those commercials were not about selling product. They were about what the Illuminati one world government elite plan to do to us. You are the focus of those two commercials. And the iPad commercial even shows this very strange image of MK Ultra mind control. And both of these commercials feature violence, fires, explosions, death and destruction of all kinds, even sexual imagery. And of course we know the Illuminati love sexual imagery. All you have to do is to look at the Denver airport murals. But I think the most telling evidence that there is a tie-in between these two commercials and this false flag event in Paris is the time 8:15, which in fact gives us the date. And it is not hard, in my opinion, to extrapolate 8:15 from the date of this terrorist attack. In other words, January 7th, 1/7 could easily add up to the number 8. In fact, one of my subscribers suggests that the next terrorist attack could very well occur on February the 6th. In other words, 2 plus 6 also equals 8, and could also fulfill this prophecy of 8:15, indicating false flag events in this new year of 2015. And we see the 8:15 clock in the Cartier workshop in their commercial. And of course, the Cartier commercial also indicates the location when they show at the very beginning the rooftops of Paris. Notice in this view that the Eiffel Tower is blacked out. This was the very first scene in the Cartier watch commercial. And of course, just a day or so ago, they did put out all the lights on the Eiffel Tower as a memorial to the victims of this terrorist attack. Another very important indication to me that these commercials do indeed predict the two terrorist attacks in Paris is the number 2, the duality. And this is very important. That's why there are two commercials. They relate to the two false flag events. And in this iPad commercial, especially this image of the woman giving birth, we see, for example, there are two arrows pointing up. We see that at the top the phrase shot 2. In other words, there were 2 shootings. We see 2 dead bodies on the horizon, and they could also be 2 skyscapes. I believe that this commercial is going to indicate another false flag event, probably in the United States in the near future. We see that there are 2 explosions, an explosion indicated by the sun and also a smoky explosion to the right of the sun. We see, of course, the two legs of the woman giving birth, and there are even two reels on the camera. One of the most amazing connections between this iPad commercial and these two false flag events in Paris is this particular scene of an iPad where we see two proper names, Frank and Charles. And of course, Frank would refer to France. France was settled by the Franks. And the name Charles, of course, refers to Charlie Hebdo, where the false flag event took place, the major one. In fact, we see all these pictures of Je suis Charlie, and as one of the YouTubers pointed out, they printed those up within 8 hours. All over France, these Je suis Charlie signs appeared. Somebody must have had foreknowledge of this event. So why did this terror attack in France consist of two events? This to me is one of the most important proofs that this was an Illuminati scheme. If this was just Muslims getting revenge on the Charlie Hebdo satirical magazine, why did they target a second place? Remember, the goal of the Illuminati in this Paris terror attack is not quite the same as the Muslims. The Muslims wanted revenge on that one satirical newspaper. The Illuminati want to create fear in the public. That's why they had two events. If there's just one event and you hear about an event, a terror attack in another part of the city, you aren't concerned because you're safe. But if they set up a pattern of at least two events and you hear of a terror attack in another part of the city, then you must be concerned because you might be next. A minimum of two attacks creates a great deal more fear. And don't forget, what the Illuminati want to eventually attain is gun confiscation, martial law, SWAT teams. That's what they want you to get used to. They're not interested in revenge on one small liberal newspaper. The ultimate goal of the Illuminati is to bring in the reign of the Antichrist and to force everyone to take the mark of the beast, as prophesied in the book of Revelation. It's very interesting that both of these commercials show images of the Antichrist. In the Cartier watch commercial, we see the Antichrist figure standing in front of a large steering wheel, or perhaps he's conducting an orchestra. I'm not sure which it is. In any event, he is standing at the 6 o'clock position on a clock. And of course, 6 is the number of the Antichrist. And in the iPad commercial, we see a stick figure being born from the woman. He represents the little horn of Bible prophecy. He is also standing at the 6 o'clock position. These are not accidental images. So in conclusion, I believe the Illuminati achieved their goals to a much greater degree than the Muslims in this false flag terror attack in Paris. And that's one more reason why I believe the creators of these two commercials knew ahead of time what was coming down the pike. So now the next question is, when will the next attack occur? Now, we've already talked about February 6th as a possible date. But if you look at the iPad commercial, we see that the number 121 is very prominent. Could that mean January 21st? And in the Cartier commercial, we see two different clocks, each sitting on its side, indicating 125. Could that indicate January 25th is the date? One thing I think is very clear. These two commercials are synchronous. They are working in tandem. And one was made in France and the other in the United States. Therefore, I believe the next terror attack will come in this country. And I used to think that the Illuminati told us ahead of time their plans because they lived by some sort of a perverted honor code. I no longer believe that. I think they tell us ahead of time because they like to rub our nose in it. And if you would like more information about my ministry, please visit my new ThirdEagleMedia.com website.